One way to help prevent your mind from wandering during the practice of mantra japa is to use a japa mala like this. A japa mala is a string of beads that's slowly turned, bead by bead, one for each repetition of a mantra. This physical activity, along with the tactile sense of the beads in your hand, helps keep your attention firmly fixed on your mantra. Japa malas usually have 108 beads. 108 is a number that symbolically represents completeness. An additional bead, called meru, is attached to each mala to indicate its beginning and end. Shorter malas often have 54 beads and also include an extra meru bead. Several kinds of beads are used, such as these rudraksha seeds, or wooden beads carved from sandal, tulasi, or rosewood, or round crystals made of quartz and other kinds of stone. Some of these types are traditionally associated with a particular deity. For example, rudraksha seeds are associated with Shiva, and tulasi beads are associated with forms of Vishnu. These conventions are followed by Orthodox Hindus, but in general, you can use any kind of mala for mantra japa. There are also several conventions regarding the proper use of a mala. You should hold it in your right hand, draping it over your middle finger and holding your index finger away like this. The index finger symbolically represents your ego, so it's deliberately left out of this practice. The beads that hang down shouldn't touch the floor or your feet. To begin practicing mantra japa, hold the bead next to the meru bead between your thumb and middle finger. Recite your mantra, and then pull the bead towards you with your thumb until the second bead rests on your middle finger. Put your thumb on that bead and recite your mantra again. Continue like this all the way around the mala. You can close your eyes and simply rely on your sense of touch. You'll know that you've completed the entire mala when you finally reach the meru bead that sticks out. If you want to continue and recite another round of mantras, it's customary to avoid crossing the meru bead. Instead, turn the mala around and proceed in the reverse direction. Using a mala is a very pleasant way to add a physical and tactile dimension to your practice of mantra japa. If you find it helpful, you can use a mala regularly for meditation. Over the years, many meditators have sought my advice for virtually identical problems in their practice of mantra japa. They all used a japa mala while reciting their mantras, but during this recitation, they simultaneously thought about other things, like the chores and errands they had to do later in the day. The problem is, mantra japa can become so mindless and mechanical that you can do it automatically, with almost no effort or attention whatsoever. When any activity becomes totally mechanical, it's easy to think about other things at the same time. As you know, our minds are good at multitasking, and that enables us to do two or more things simultaneously, like watching TV while you eat, or taking notes while listening to a lecture, or checking your email while you're talking on the phone. In many situations, multitasking can be quite useful, but during meditation, your mind's capacity for multitasking becomes a liability. It allows your attention to be split between reciting a mantra and other unrelated mental activities. This problem develops gradually when your mind begins to wander during the practice of mantra japa and you fail to bring it back immediately. When you allow your mind to wander like that, it soon learns how to engage in other thoughts while it continues to recite a mantra. Before long, this kind of multitasking becomes so habitual that as soon as you begin your daily practice of mantra japa, your mind automatically starts thinking about other things. You can avoid developing this bad habit by following two simple rules. First, every time your mind wanders during mantra japa, bring it back immediately. And second, if you get tired of bringing your mind back again and again, if you don't have the energy or willpower to continually restrain your mind, then it's best to conclude your session of meditation. Even if you're in the middle of a mala, it's best to stop and resume your practice at some other time. To continue when you're unable to keep your mind focused on your mantra actually causes harm by fostering a bad habit that predisposes your mind to wander even more during future sessions. Now, suppose you've already fallen into this bad habit of multitasking during your practice of mantra japa. How can you break that habit? Well, like most habits, this one is hard to break. But since the habit of multitasking is associated with a particular mantra, you can break it by setting that mantra aside and using another mantra instead. Then, when you begin to practice with the new mantra, you have to be extremely vigilant and bring your mind back the very moment it starts to wander. In this way, over a period of weeks or months, you can gradually break the habit of multitasking. Then, if you like, you can return to using your original mantra. But even then, you'll have to remain exceedingly diligent at all times, or the habit can easily return. You can actually recite a mantra whenever you're unoccupied and wherever you happen to be. Like, for example, when you're stuck on the road in a traffic jam, or when you're waiting in a line someplace, or at work when you take a short break. Don't take this too seriously. Even though you can't really meditate in those situations, reciting a mantra can still help focus and quiet your mind. And since mantras are sacred invocations, this practice can help you by turning your mind away from mundane concerns and towards the divine. An ideal time for this informal practice of mantra japa is when you go for a walk. Reciting your mantra while you walk in your neighborhood or through a beautiful park can be delightful. And there's a unique way to make this practice even better. Instead of using a japa mala, you can synchronize your mantra to your footsteps by reciting one or more syllables with each step. Any mantra can be synchronized to your footsteps. For example, suppose you recite the first syllable of your mantra as you step with your right foot. Then, if you divide the mantra's syllables into an even number of steps, all the following mantras will again begin with your right foot. Let me show you how to do this. If your mantra is Om Namah Shivaya, you can divide it into 4 steps like this. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. If your mantra is Om Namo Narayanaya, you can divide it like this. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. With some mantras, it's difficult to divide the syllables into an even number. In that case, you can add a silent step to the end of each mantra, like this. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Step. 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 You can experiment with this and invent your own pattern. Once you figure out a suitable pattern, you'll enjoy reciting your mantra rhythmically whenever you go for a walk. This happens to be one of my favorite techniques. I hope you try it. This lesson concludes the chapter on mantra japa. In the next chapter, we'll discuss meditation techniques in which you witness your mind instead of trying to control it.